Okay, we're gonna do this for a little bit. This is only a minute and 41. I can probably get this in and give some analysis, some commentary on this pretty quickly before the landlord shows up.
I'm not going to resign.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on Wednesday said he would not resign in the wake of a series of sexual misconduct accusations leveled against him by young women, but offered a fresh apology and vowed to fully cooperate with a review by the state's attorney general.
I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable.
That's so weaselly. Jesus fucking Christ.
It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it. I feel awful about it, and frankly, I am embarrassed by it.
Cuomo maintained that he never touched anyone inappropriately, but acknowledged that it is custom for him to kiss and hug people in greeting.
I understand that sensitivities have changed and behavior has changed, and I get it, and I'm going to learn from it.
3 women, including 2 former aides, have come forward recently to say that Cuomo had sexually harassed them or made inappropriate remarks. Lindsay Boylan, who first came forward in December, said the unwanted advances included an unsolicited kiss on the lips in Cuomo's New York City office, which Cuomo denied. The scandal is actually the second one Cuomo has contended with in recent weeks. The governor is also facing accusations of downplaying the true number of elderly nursing home residents killed by COVID-19, a claim which is now the subject of a federal investigation.
Yep. Okay, so that was the weaseliest, fucking most disingenuous apology I've ever heard. He should resign, and he should also still cooperate with the investigation. But Jesus takes on no, we're not. That's a very bad headline, Reuters. We're not going there. This one's 4 minutes, this one's a minute and 36, and this one's almost 10 minutes. So we'll go over the Myanmar one because that seems.
Wearing yellow and white construction helmets, some holding homemade shields of wood, others with a satellite dish. Myanmar's protests against the military coup showed no sign of letting up on Wednesday. Security forces fired rubber bullets, stun grenades and tear gas to break them up, and local media reported several people were hurt. Later, there were reports of live ammunition fired and at least 18 people were killed. It comes a day after the Association of Southeast Asian Nations urged restraint, but they failed to unite behind a call for the military to release ousted government leader Aung San Suu Kyi and restore democracy. Meanwhile, inside the country, a prominent activist called for sanctions on businesses linked to the military. Across the nation on Wednesday, 9 people were hurt and at least 2 people were killed when police fired rubber bullets in the second largest city, Mandalay. That's according to the Myanmar Now news agency. In Yangon, hundreds of people were detained, including several protest leaders, an activist said, as well as local media reports of shooting and deaths in the central towns of Myingin and Magway. Media also reported 5 people were wounded in the town of Monua. The military has justified the coup, saying its complaints of voter fraud in the November 8 elections were ignored. Nearly 1,300 people have been detained, according to activists, including 6 journalists in Yangon.
Yeah, that's never a good thing. We need to stand with these protesters, obviously. They need to reinstate. I'm sorry, I don't remember what her name was.
And deaths in the central towns of Myingin and Magway. Media also reported 5 people were wounded, according to the Myanmar Now news agency. In Yangon, Aung San Suu Kyi and
Aung San Suu Kyi, that's right. They need to put her in the position she's supposed to be in. I don't see why this is such a difficult thing to just let people do like the democracy thing and also to try like the new economic systems thing. It's not bad. we can do that. I even disagree with Vosh on the on some of his points on that. He's like, yeah, we need to get a larger sample size, so we need some things to do that, and some. No, I think we just need to do it, just full scale. I do think that it's better overall. But he probably has a more pragmatic approach on it, but I'm thinking more like workers' rights need to just be established. There's probably other ways we could go about it. But I do think we need to just, like, go for it. At least make the attempt. I am sad about this. Stand with the protesters, everybody. Myanmar needs help. It is a coup. See, Myanmar coup. And the military dictatorship has to step down. Anyways, we will be back because I'm sure my landlord's almost here. And you can continue right here. back on the scene, and let's go with new. So, what is the illustration for today? Well, I really don't plan these out at all. I just get home and do them. So, let's draw a ground line. Boop, boop, boop. Make it more grass-like. Boop. And you can actually put some lighter tones in at like microscopic level, and some real opaque shit right here. And then you just kind of needs to be less opaque than that, but you know, you don't want it to be like real visible. You can just do that kind of thing. Wind. Right? And then you've got a nice, you know what, let's make it nice and sunny outside. Now there's a point to this. You'll see where it's going. You will, I promise you. And then we do this, and we get some nice floofy clouds going. And we'll just put it at like 40 something pixels. And we cover up there, and we go ahead and put some pale sunlight in the back here, you know, boom, and then we'll go back to the pale here, and we'll mark over it. So this cloud has a bit of depth to it, you see. And we blend all that together. That's a deep ass cloud right there. And then you can do like a little bitty one over here. Beep. And you can do like a that one's like that, and it's real prominent. See? Yeah. And you do this, and you take that way back down to like 4 pixels, and you do like a oop, it's too big. They're flying away. See? Birdie's flying away. Now, what am I getting to here? You'll see here in a moment. Bow. Oh, well, you'll see here in a moment whenever I'm back inside. It's our house, motherfuckers. Alright, so that was important. I'm sorry, but, you know, it's the landlord. He's doing stuff. Anyways, what we've got going on here, everybody. So you see this nice field and everything? Well, you know, we'll say there's, you know, house here and house here and stuff like that. You know, there's houses on the thing. We'll just make them red because I want to. Undo. Boop. Boop. Nope. We'll make their roofs yellow. Then we come back here and we scroll way in and we connect that and finish the job. Okay. So we got, you know, we got some houses, right? What we need, this is where this is coming back in to connect, is we get the solar panels on here. Need to do that, you know, bloop, 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 solar panels. I don't even know what that is. Solar panel. Beep, beep, right? Solar panels. I know it looks kind of like pizza, but you know, beep, 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 beep. Solar panel arrays. We can even make it polished metal. Fill. Boom, 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 boom. See? Look at that. Look at that. Bing, bing, bing. Solar panels. That's the point of this entire drawing. We need more of them. Okay. That's it. No other message. Oh, and also, there's these like new wind turbine things that are pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Boom. We'll make them polished bright red. Beep, beep. We'll make the top of it polished dark red. Beep. Beep. Nope. Undo. Need right there and right there. Yeah. See? Boom. There's these wind turbines, and so when wind goes whooshing by them, turn the opacity down, and and just see there's like wind going and stuff. And with the wind going, this thing vibrates back and forth. See, it goes and it generates electricity, and it can help power the houses with the solar panels and stuff, and it's really efficient, and I like it a lot. So we need more of this. Okay, you know what I mean? We definitely need more of that with the and the higher the wind, the better, up until the point where it becomes a tornado. It's beautiful art. Beautiful art. Nobody can tell me otherwise, okay? That's all that's about. Yep. We need renewable energies, everybody. Ooh, we could even do like a nuclear reactor like back here. You know, it goes like wee. it can be like toxic green color. It'll be like bleh, toxic neon green. You just do that. It's nice and toxic, and you know, it's like big dot. We'll just do, wait, no, I want this one. And we just do big yellow dot, bink. I should probably have that at much lower opacity. Bink. Nah. We'll just have it wham, and then nuclear symbol or whatever the fuck it looks like. I don't even remember. I got a fucking Sharingan on this shit, okay? Nuclear energy, and then wind, and then solars, and then that's what that's about, alright? That's all that's about. It's beautiful art, and I'm not saving it because fuck you guys. Alright. Onward to victory. Just in. Let's see this.
Thanks for coming in. These are members of the House, Senate, Democrat, Republican, who all have an extremely keen interest in doing what I said once before, that I'd love to be the president, preside over the end of cancer as we know it. These are the folks in the House and Senate who love to preside over cancer, the end of cancer as we know it. They all were critical in the CARES Act, which put about $9 billion into NIH to deal with cancer and cancer research. And the Vice President and I are of the view that we can make significant strides in fighting cancer and Alzheimer's and other diseases if we take a slightly different approach. And what I want to talk to them about today is how we go about taking advantage of the work they've done to get us where we are today. Because I think we're on the cusp of some real breakthroughs across the board on cancer. And that's what we're going to talk about. And probably to all of you, like all of us, cancer is personal for almost everybody. It's probably the one word that is the most frightening word in the English language to people. When they hear that C word, cancer, it is just devastating.
Nice clarification there, Biden.
I always ask when I talk about cancer, I ask the audience if they to raise their hand if any of them were suffering from cancer as I spoke, and or they lost someone. And virtually 70% of every audience, whether or not it's 4,000 people or 400 people. And a lot of folks in this room have, like many of you, maybe, have been victims of cancer and overcome it. But there's so much hope that's what I want to talk about with these folks, about what we do from a legislative and substantive point of view to make the kind of inroads I think we can make. That's what we're talking about today. Thank you for coming in, and I'm optimistic we're going to get something done here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
U.S. troops were targeted with rocket attacks.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We are following that through right now. Thank God no one was killed by the rocket. One individual, a contractor, died of a heart attack. But we're identifying who's responsible, and we'll make judgments from that point. Okay? Thank you.
Responsible. The American government is responsible. They're always responsible. Fucking understand that.
Thank you, guys.
I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everyone's realized by now, these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American, every adult American to get a shot. And the last thing we need is Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters. I carry a card, and I don't have it, I put it on my desk. As of yesterday, we had lost 511,874 Americans. We're going to lose thousands more. This will not occur. We'll not have everybody vaccinated until sometime in the summer. We have the vaccine to do it. Getting a shot in someone's arm and getting a second shot, you're going to take time. And it's critical that they follow the science. Wash your hands, hot water, do it frequently, wear a mask, and stay socially distanced. And I know you all know that. I wish the heck some of our elected officials knew. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, that sounds about right. Biden actually had some good points there. He still hasn't given me my $2,000 stimmy, but, you know. We'll get to that later. No. Go away. This is the big one, though. This is the real big one. Do you know what this is about? Because I'm pretty sure some of you do, and I sure as fuck actually don't. That's why I want to watch this. And I want to go over it. Because the last thing we need is to be losing voting rights within states. You know what I mean? That's just the last thing we need.
Throughout the past year, we have reported extensively on all the changes to voting in America because of the pandemic and because of our politics. Tonight, we're bringing back our series Ballot Watch because there is an unprecedented new wave of state election laws on the horizon aimed at making it harder to vote. And today, the Supreme Court, the justices heard a major case that could make it harder to challenge restrictions in the years ahead. Here's our Devin Dwyer.
Today at the Supreme Court, a major showdown over voting rights as Arizona Republicans defend two state laws that limit how ballots are cast.
These measures are designed to provide order and secure the elections and provide confidence in the results.
One measure requires election officials to throw out votes cast in the wrong precinct. Another bans the practice of third-party ballot collection, or allowing someone else to turn in your absentee ballot for you.
To us, it's a fundamental issue of right versus wrong. It's all about the integrity.
There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud in Arizona, where 80% of voters in 2020 cast ballots early. Democrats say the real purpose is to make it harder for minorities to vote.
If people have less access to mail, then in fact getting that ballot back is a big deal. But for somebody who lives in a rural community where you may live 50 or 75 miles from a post office box that you share with a bunch of other families because they're hard to come by, then that's a whole different story.
Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 says laws which result in a denial or abridgment of the right of any U.S. citizen to vote on account of race or color are illegal. The provision has never been tested at the High Court, but 8 years ago, a hostile conservative majority effectively gutted a separate part of the law, one that required states with a history of racial discrimination to pre-clear election rule changes with the Justice Department.
The court needs to send a strong statement that the Voting Rights Act will be there for the American public, especially at a time when we see politicians in the state trying to put barriers in front of the ballot box.
Republican lawmakers in at least 43 states are considering more than 250 proposed bills that would make it harder to vote.
What do? They do things like restrict access to vote by mail. They impose stricter photo identification laws. They slash voter registration opportunities, and they aggressively purge voters from the rolls.
Many of the measures target early voting, which exploded in popularity during 2020 and led to historic turnout. 30 states made it easier to vote by mail because of the pandemic.
True.
But now at least 24 states are considering measures to scale it back in future elections.
Who are the losers? Well, of course, all voters lose when you restrict voting access. But if you said within that subset, you would see that it is almost inevitably aimed at either minority voters or young voters.
Democratic election lawyer Mark Elias says the tidal wave of new laws reflects former President Trump's lie that the election he lost was rigged.
They are restricting voting rights not just in purple states, but they are doing it in red states as well. And it is that reason that I am so confident that this is a product of showing fealty to a failed one-term president as it is anything else.
We must pass comprehensive election reforms, and we must do it now.
As Trump prods his allies, Republican-controlled state legislatures have been moving quickly. In Iowa, Republicans have sent the governor a bill to slash the early voting period by 9 days and impose tighter deadlines on mail-in ballots.
The fact of the matter is there are Americans across this state that have some concerns about what happened in this last election.
In Georgia, which helped decide the presidential race and gave Democrats control of the U.S. Senate, protests as Republicans advance a sweeping crackdown.
Now, Republicans in the Georgia General Assembly are trying to change the rules of the election here in Georgia. Rules that you wrote because you were handed defeat in November the 3rd and again on January the 5th.
House Bill 531 is designed to begin to bring back the confidence of our voters back into our election system.
They want to restrict placement of ballot drop boxes, cut hours for early voting on weekends, and require photo ID to vote by mail.
For people who have a driver's license, who have the privilege to have a driver's license, maybe that's no big deal to have to do that. But for somebody who doesn't have a driver's license, then they have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops.
And are any of these measures that are being proposed, any of them legitimate?
Most of these measures really don't make the election more secure. I mean, even if you set aside the fact that there is vanishingly little, if any, fraud in the American election, there's nothing that makes the election more secure by saying that the election day has to be shorter.
More than half of all voters believe the 2020 election was secure. It's a view shared by the Trump Justice Department and dozens of federal judges. Still, nearly 3 in 4 Republicans disagree.
I mean, how do you restore confidence when you have half the electorate, 73% of Republicans say they thought there was widespread voter fraud?
That, I think, is the big question. I think the real challenge for our democracy moving forward, beyond laws and lawsuits, is how do we get to a place in which both political parties agree that we hold and should hold fair and free elections.
In Arizona, Attorney General Mark Brnovich says the answer is in the rule of law.
Look, I'm a first-generation American, and I understand how important, symbolically, emotionally, and practically that right to vote is. You want to make sure that everyone has confidence in the results, and no one can go around saying that somehow there was some shenanigans or something, or somebody was disenfranchised.
Everybody's going to say, you're disenfranchising people, for one, by doing what you're doing. Like, don't fucking lie. When you're restricting ballot boxes and deadlines and things like that to make it to even tighter, deadlines, then you're kind of disenfranchising people. And then on top of that, there will always be people who say that there was some sort of fraud whenever their fucking candidate loses. It always happens. It's just Trump is the only one who got a fucking mob of ghouls to go along with it.
And Devin Dwyer joins me now. Devin, you covered today's Supreme Court arguments over Arizona's election laws, and I know you're so good at reading the legal tea leaves. What did we learn about just how the justices might rule?
Well, Juju, it seems likely that the court's conservatives will actually uphold those 2 Arizona laws, the one on out-of-precinct voting and the ban on ballot collection. Justice Brett Kavanaugh pointed out that since many other states have these rules, and since a bipartisan commission in 2005 actually found some legitimate concerns for ballot collection, he said there are reasonable race-neutral justifications for both. And of course, even the Biden administration, surprising to many people, wrote a letter to the Supreme Court, said they didn't think these 2 Arizona laws violated the Voting Rights Act. But the big question is, how will the justices write this opinion? What sort of test will the
Biden administration said that they didn't think that this violated the Voting Rights Act? That's bullshit. When you're restricting deadlines and shit like that, I don't know how it gets interpreted, but it depends on if it targets minorities more, which it does, because of course it fucking does. everything Republicans do is to target and harm minority communities as much as they possibly fucking can. That's why Republicans love winning elections.
They create for figuring out when laws do constitute racial discrimination. That's the big concern. And tonight, Juju, Democrats, civil rights advocates are very nervous that this conservative majority on the court will make it harder to challenge election laws in the future.
Fascinating, Devin. But even as we wait for this decision, the House tomorrow is expected to pass a sweeping package of new voting reforms backed by Democrats. What might that accomplish, and what do you think the Republicans will say as backlash?
Yeah, I mean, even as all of those state restrictions are in the pipeline, they're on the horizon, Democrats tomorrow in the House will vote to pass this sweeping bill. It's 800 pages, Juju. It's called the For the People Act of 2021, a major Democratic priority, and it would set some national standards for voting. It would mandate automatic voter registration. It would expand voting by mail, mandate drop boxes in certain places. In fact, the bill would even mandate 2 weeks of early voting in every single state. As you alluded to, Republicans are opposed to this. They say it just favors Democrats politically, and that's why Juju faces very long odds in the Senate with that razor-thin majority. But Democrats tonight saying they're going to fight for it there. Juju?
Clearly the lines are drawn. Thanks to you, Devin Dwyer.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the...
Shut the fuck up, George. Nobody cares. I fear for that particular state, honestly. I hope that doesn't happen and gets upheld. Texas lifts the mask mandates because they're stupid. There's nothing you can do, McConnell. There's nothing. You're defeated.
Not a year ago. We're making extraordinary progress with the rollout of the vaccines. The economy is struggling to get back on its feet and did not ever become as bad as the doomsday projections at various points a year ago. So we think
it absolutely did. Do not let this fucking turtle man lie to you. Look at he's been crying. He's been crying.
I think this package should have been negotiated on a bipartisan basis, like the last 5 bills were done. Instead, the new administration made a conscious...
You stupid, lying piece of shit. You held up every COVID relief package that passed through the House. You didn't see any of them. And except for the ones that you knew all of your colleagues would just go no because you controlled. You do everything without a bipartisan manner. Every single fucking thing that the Senate does or that the government does when the Republicans are in control never has any bipartisan support, and it always makes things worse. So shut the fuck up, McConnell.
Just decision to jam us, to do it one party only, to take advantage of the reconciliation process to try to achieve a whole lot of other items completely unrelated to COVID-19. So we'll be fighting this in every way that we can. It is my hope that at the end, Senate Republicans will unanimously oppose it, just like House Republicans did. And I think it's noteworthy that over in the House, the only thing bipartisan about the proposal was the opposition to it.
Yeah, that's because we've got some real fucking conservative shitheads running in the Democratic Party, and they keep getting elected because they're better than the Republican opponent. But no, they're fucking conservatives who just put on the name of Democrat to get elected. Like the commies need to do with the label of Republican in red states. You can do it as a Democrat too. You can even try third party. Now this is a big one. Neera Tanden got fucking ousted.
I think that the libertarian socialist concepts and by that I mean a range of thinking that extends from left-wing Marxism through anarchism, I think that these are fundamentally correct and that they are the proper and natural extension of classical liberalism into the era of advanced industrial society. In contrast, it seems to me that the ideology of state socialism, that is what has become of Bolshevism, and of state capitalism, the modern welfare state, these of course are dominant in the industrial countries and the industrial societies, but I believe that they are regressive and highly inadequate social theories, and that a large number of our really fundamental problems stem from a kind of incompatibility and inappropriateness of these social forms to a modern industrial society. A French writer, rather sympathetic to anarchism, once wrote that anarchism has a broad back. Like paper, it endures anything. And there are many shades of anarchism, and I'm concerned here only with one, namely the anarchism of Bakunin, who wrote in his Anarchist Manifesto of 1865 that to be an anarchist one must first be a socialist. I'm concerned with the anarchism of Adolf Fischer, one of the martyrs of the Haymarket Affair in 1886, who said that every anarchist is a socialist, but not every socialist is necessarily an anarchist. A consistent anarchist must oppose private ownership of the means of production. Such property is indeed, as Proudhon in his famous remark asserted, a form of theft. But a consistent anarchist will also oppose the organization of production by government. I'm quoting. It means state socialism, the command of the state officials over production and the command of managers, scientists, shop officials in the shop. The goal of the working class is liberation from exploitation, and this goal is not reached and cannot be reached by a new directing and governing class substituting itself for the bourgeoisie. It is only realized by the workers themselves being master over production by some form of workers' councils. These remarks, it happens, are quoted from the left-wing Marxist Anton Pannekoek, and in fact, radical Marxism, what Lenin once called infantile ultra-leftism, merges with anarchist currents. This is an important point, I think, and let me give one further illustration of this convergence between left-wing Marxism and socialist anarchism. Consider the following characterization of revolution.
He is so fucking brilliant, okay? Noam Chomsky, one of the most brilliant people in all of history, alright? Seriously.
Revolutionary socialism. The revolutionary socialist denies that state ownership can end in anything other than a bureaucratic despotism. We have seen why the state cannot democratically control industry. Industry can only be democratically owned and controlled by the workers electing directly from their own ranks industrial administrative committees. Socialism will be fundamentally an industrial system. Its constituencies will be of an industrial character. Thus, those carrying on the social activity and industries of society will be directly represented in the local and central councils of social administration. In this way, the powers of such delegates will flow upwards from those carrying on the work and conversant with the needs of the community. When the Central Administrative Industrial Committee meets, it will represent every phase of social activity. Hence, the capitalist political or geographical state will be replaced by the Industrial Administrative Committee of Socialism. The transition from one social system to the other will be the social revolution. The political state throughout history has meant the government of men by ruling classes. The Republic of Socialism will be the government of industry administered on behalf of the whole community. The former meant the economic and political subjection of the many. The latter will mean the economic freedom of all. It will be, therefore, a true democracy. These remarks are taken from a book called The State, Its Origins and Function, written by William Paul in early 1917, just prior to Lenin's State and Revolution, which is his most libertarian work. William Paul was one of the founders of the British Communist Party, later the editor of the British Communist Party Journal. And it's interesting that his critique of state socialism resembles very closely, I think, the libertarian doctrine of the anarchists. In particular, in its principle that the state must disappear to be replaced by the industrial organization of society in the course of the social revolution itself.
True.
Proudhon in 1851 wrote that what we put in place of the government is industrial organization, and many, many similar comments can be cited. That, in a sense, is the fundamental idea of anarchist revolutionaries. What's more important than the fact that many such statements can be cited is that these ideas have been realized in spontaneous revolutionary action several times. For example, in Germany and Italy after the First World War, in Catalonia in 1936. One might argue, at least I would argue, that council communism in this sense, in the sense of the long quotation that I read, is the natural form of revolutionary socialism in an industrial society. It reflects the intuitive understanding.
All right, so we're not going to go over all of this because it's, 20 minutes long. And I pretty much just agree with Chomsky, so you guys go check that out. But that's a... That's a good teaser, though, isn't it? How long is that? 22 minutes? Nope. Not going over. It's too long. Not really. It's a lot, though. Jesus Christ. Alright. The Francois studio is how I got my thing set up so that I can control everything. And everyone can hear me. And I can hear myself. And everyone can hear me. Alright. Let's see, it's 6:15. I started like an hour ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know, guys. I felt like streaming. Now I don't know what to do. I kind of want to play video games, but this thing can't do it. However, on Friday, I believe, this PC, you won't notice it until I don't have lag, but it will be upgraded. So that's fun. Alright, well. Yeah, I think hour and 12 minutes in. I don't need to test the widgets again. Dropped 66 frames overall. Out of how many? Ah, it's running strong. I don't know. There's so much. You know what? I'm gonna try and play some Destiny. So I can't be doing this. I appreciate anyone who comes in to watch. I will stream probably tomorrow, yeah. Depending on if our computer parts come in, and when they come in, and when we get them put together. So, anyways, y'all take care. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. You know the drill. Everyone knows the